Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining our Girls' Night In to celebrate the launch of my new book, Ruthless Women, which has been described as the filthiest book that's been released in years. Now, I take that as a compliment because it's actually about strong women. No women in this book get used, aka 50 Shades, which we'll talk about later. This is a female perspective. So for a girls' night in, you can't do this alone. And I have chosen 3 fabulous women, of which I'm huge fans of, all who have a link to, I believe, elements of the book in their genres of what they do. So I would like to introduce Coleen Nolan, who obviously you will know from Loose Women, but she also writes an agony aunt and a sex column for the Daily Mirror. So she deals with a lot of questions about that area. Queen of Coronation Street, recently departed, who I don't think there is anybody more qualified to talk about what life on a soap opera is like than Beverley. And of course, Jacquline Gold, CEO of Ann Summers, who I'm a personal massive fan of, huge shopper, and you have given me many years of pleasure, and that's what I'll say. So welcome to all of you, and thanks for joining me on this. And I just want to say to everybody that's bought tickets and everybody that's bought the book, you know, I'm overwhelmed by the response, and I know that we're in dark times, and if we can just lift you for just a little while we talk about this and maybe get some people hot under the collar, then that's going to be enough for me. But we've got loads of questions from people that have written in, have tweeted us, and have sent in emails. So I think, shall we just start on what we think about the book? So for me, as a writer, I wanted to create something. I feel that books are very sexist. Generally, books that are written for women, they're from the male perspective. I didn't like 50 Shades of Grey. You know, if a man asked to tie me up and put a blindfold on me, like, you know, he's out the door. I'm not interested in that stuff. Now, I'm not judging on somebody else's thing that might turn them on, but I didn't like the fact that that was sort of the dominant side of it. Now, Coleen, I know that you did enjoy 50 Shades of Grey. So does that mean that you are probably more submissive?
Well, no, I did. You're right, Melanie. I did enjoy 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know what that says about me, but equally, I have to say that I absolutely loved Ruthless Women. I'm just going to hold it up for you because not only do I love what's written on the pages, I love the pages. Look at that. It's amazing. But I loved it from another perspective, and I did feel empowered by it. And I kind of wanted to, you know, by the time I'd read it, I thought, I want to be that strong, you know, independent woman, especially when it comes to the bedroom, because I guess I have always played that other role. I don't mean I've been tied up and blindfolded. Just
no, I understand.
But you know what I mean? It's given me confidence to go, oh, you can be the, you know, the boss in the bedroom, and I kind of like that.
And Jacquline, obviously, you know, Ann Summers is so much about empowerment. How do you feel that times are at the moment with women's sexuality versus maybe, say, 20 years ago?
Well, first of all, Melanie, I have started reading the book, and I have to say it's amazing. It's full of so much colour and excitement and glamour, and I think it's going to do brilliantly. So thank you for involving me today. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that, you know, I started this when I was 21 years old. We're talking like almost 40 years ago, I hate to say. And it's just, you know, many people listening to this won't realise the sort of crusade that we've been on for those last 40 years, because you couldn't buy sexy underwear. You certainly couldn't buy books like this. You probably go to prison for a book like this. But I think it's, you know, one of the things that I, as you said, I'm passionate about is empowering women in the bedroom as well as in the boardroom, and this hits both those spots.
Yes, and because of the fact of so obviously we'll cut straight to the link between Ann Summers and Ruthless is that one of the actresses who has decided that she doesn't want to be with men at the moment has chosen, thanks to a recommendation, and also I knew this toy myself because lots of my friends had it, your Morgasm, which features very heavily in this book. And why do you think that toy, bear in mind that these women have got, because you are high street, these women have got lots of money, and she talks about the fact that that is why she chose that product. Now that was real research for me. I spoke to all my friends, they had like the £350. I've never understood anyone would want to put some gold down there, but that's another story. But you know, all those things, and it came to the Morgasm was like the one that everybody was like, why do you think that is so popular?
Well, I think that there are two things that women are looking for when they're buying a sex toy. One is speed stroke power, how intense it is, and the different speeds. And the other is it needs to be quiet. Yeah. And, you know, the Morgasm ticks, you know, it ticks both those boxes. It's a brilliant toy. And I think that, you know, every woman, I mean, it's just fantastic that it's in your book, but I think every woman should have a rampant rabbit. So,
well, I did so much research on this because obviously, Beverley, you're coming up next, not on this topic, but I did so much research and everybody had a Morgasm. That was the one that everybody had. And the one thing that they mentioned that you haven't mentioned, which is interesting because these women have got busy lives, because it takes a lot of time to do backstabbing, revenge, betrayal, and fight your way around. They liked it because it was fast.
Yeah.
Which I think was really interesting. It gave the results that they wanted. And Coleen, I know that, you know, in your previous terms, you've seen like, you know, what was your phrase? Help yourself, but do not disturb.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm all about the Morgasm.
Yeah, we just don't have a lot of time. And
No.
Stacey,
or energy.
That's right. But we still need a little something. And Stacey in this book has an amazing experience with the Morgasm. So anyone that's watching this that wants to find out why it is so popular, you can head over to one of Jacqueline's amazing web portals or any of the websites that they have and find out what that is. But moving on from sex to soap, because obviously a little background about their book for people that have bought tickets but haven't yet read the book. So Ruthless Women is set on a soap opera that has been on air for 39 years. It's a kind of Downton Abbey by the sea. It's quite quaint. It's sort of been picturesque and lovely, and the women are ladies and the men are more brutish, and it's had that sort of way. It's been syndicated for years. I know you girls will know the story, but this is for the people at home. And the ratings are failing. Everybody's watching streaming. Nobody's watching like they were before. So the network gets sold, and it's sold to, I mean, we're online, so I'm sure we can say what we want, a grade A bitch who arrives on the island. It's filmed on a beautiful island where if you get to be in the show, you get to live in the island. So therefore, if you lose your job on the show, you lose your home on the island. So when she takes over the reboot, announcing that they're going to try and save the show, but by any means possible, and nobody is safe, it becomes every woman for herself. Now, Beverley, having seen more producers than possibly Jacquline has seen Morgasms, what did you find the aspect of the every woman for herself in this book to be true of a soap opera?
I think when you wrote this book, you bugged my working life. That's what I think. It's very scary. It's brilliant. I had to, from start to finish, was rapid because I couldn't put it down. I think the problem is the women really have to fight the men. Yeah. First and foremost, because it's such a sexist industry, behind the scenes as well as in front of the cameras. But I think that because they have to fight for the women always have to fight for their place, whether it be on the set, whether it be a woman who's on the cameras, whether it be a female director. They have to really fight because they're still in the minority. And the women in this book, I want to be these women. I do. I want to be these women because their insecurities are disappearing with each day. And I love that. They still have their insecurities. But I think women are ruthless, but I think they have to be pushed to that.
Oh,
and we have been pushed to it. We're all pushed to it. And so I've worked with many ruthless women. I have seen actors or actresses in soaps. A beautiful younger actress has come on the set, and a more mature actress has said to costume department, put a cardigan on that actress. You know, I'm not going to say who said it.
I know.
But you know, but I would never tell the world about that. But, you know, we should be helping each other. And I love the camaraderie between the women in Ruthless Women. They can be ruthless, but they are very loving to each other as well.
And they're really fighting the men.
Most definitely.
Which is kind of what it's all about. And do you find, Jacqueline, that at a boardroom level, that there are just still not enough women?
Well, certainly not in most boardrooms. I'm glad to say that, you know, our 4 most senior people in our business are all women, and our board is 60% women. So, but I still feel it should be the best person for the job.
100%.
But we just, you know, so many talented women are overlooked. And I think women also, when they have those opportunities, you know, they play down their own achievements or they look for validation. You know, we need women like ourselves to raise our head above the parapet and inspire those, you know, coming up the ranks and help them. You know, like Beverley said, it's so important to support each other
100%.
and, you know, pull them up the ladder as you go.
Rather than pull the ladder up, as you know, which is what so many women do. And I find that's one of the things about is the camaraderie of the friendship, like Beverley said in Ruthless Women, that holds them together, because obviously it is a war and entertainment is a war. I mean, I'm going to move on to some questions because we've got so many, but I'm going to start with one for you, for Coleen, which relates to this topic. So Sharon from Birkenhead said, Coleen, she's obviously had an early advance of this book. She said, is there as much sexism and ageism and looksism, I'm not sure if that's a word, but it is now, in TV as this book makes out? Because it really shocked me to think that women could be spoken to or about the way that the executives talk about the women in Ruthless Women.
Well, it's really difficult. I think it is getting better, but it's still miles from being how it should be. You know, I have had a head of a big TV company say, you know, if you want to get in prime time, you need to get a gastric band. You know, you're too big to present prime time.
And that should
I've
be
had, you're getting on a bit now, you know, so maybe you're not right for prime time. And yet you see all these guys in prime time, some overweight, some certainly in their 60s and 70s.
There's no women in prime time at all.
There doesn't seem to be any women of a certain age or a certain size in prime time.
No, they're not. And if they're over 50 in prime time, and this is no offence to Tess Daly or Amanda Holden, who I really admire, they're not allowed to look it.
Yeah,
they have to
exactly.
Much younger and be thin and be incredibly ageless, really. Whereas,
and still women who are in prime time, you know, when you see them in the magazines, they're always being judged on what dresses they wore or how sexy they looked. It's never about how good they were at the job or how bad they were at the job. It's always with women. It's always on their looks and what they're wearing and stuff like that. However, I think it's better than it was years ago. But equally, you know, if you look at Loose Women, which I do daily, there isn't another show on any channel at all that has that range of women all at once presenting a TV show, except
absolutely.
daytime.
I think one of the main things is as well, more often than not, any miniseries, any film, you will have a husband who is 55, 60 with a 30-year-old wife. It's always that way, and the wife is always very attractive, very slim. It's so ageist towards women. But of course, if they did that the other way round and they had a 60-year-old woman with a 35-year-old husband, she would instantly be called a cougar.
And then also she would be ridiculed in the costumes. She would be written as mutton.
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Did you find?
I have seen, when I've been at work, we have a place called the Green Room where all the actors sit and they are able to watch scenes that are being filmed in the studio. And I can remember years ago, quite a raunchy scene for the programme I was in, being filmed. And the man and the woman were both in their 60s. And they were about to go into a kissing scene or whatever. And some of the men in the green room actually said about the woman, "Oh dear, condemned meat." That's true.
Wow.
And I've heard producers say, "Oh no, she's past the sell-by date now." You've heard that, Melanie.
Well, I mean, in the opening chapter of the book, we have the very specific line, don't we, where Jake says, so they're talking about casting a very famous woman to come into the show, and the idea is that they're going to bring a bitch into the show that's going to cause a real stir, a sort of Kim Tate type Alexis Carrington character. And the first instinct, not to spoil the book, is Jake looks across the boardroom, scanning the cast's face. So she's going to be hot, like 21. Finally, we can win some best looking actress awards. No more losing out because all of ours are so past it. Then the casting director says, no, it will only work if she's at least 50. Then Jake, who is the head of drama at this network, says, 50, don't be so ridiculous. Who the hell is going to want to watch some old mutton tramping her way around the bay? We need lamb. Now, interestingly, when this book first went out, I had over 50 emails from very high up people going, oh, is that such and such person? And do you think they were all the same name?
It's mind-blowing.
They weren't. There were 50 different names, which meant there were 50 Jakes out there right now that any one of these people in position of power thought that could have been him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
You're listening to your stories. It reminds me of like Fox News. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
Oh, yes.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is like that.
It
Bombshell.
is horrific.
Bombshell.
And it still is like that. I do believe we're chipping away at it, but we're not chipping away fast enough. But the other thing I love about this is because the women are real women.
They are.
You know, they are not 21-year-old stick insects, which, of course, they have a great deal to offer. But so have we. And also the women in Ruthless Women, they love having sex and they're not scared to say it.
No.
I was brought up to never say anything like that. You know, my parents truly believed that you should be a virgin until your wedding night. And, you know, the biggest question would be, will he still respect me in the morning?
I mean,
will we still respect him in the morning?
And in this book, as we know, so this, I mean, we might have to set it out, but I think this is a really, really important story to tell. And I've expressed this to many women that I know, and I don't know how many of you out of this Zoom will agree with me, or you guys that are watching at home. Sorry if it's a bit graphic. Right. There's a time in all women's lives, particularly when we're girls, when we're in love with a guy, we really like him, oh God, will he ring, will he call, will he turn up, how will it go? And eventually we finally get him and we finally spend that night with him, we've had sex with him, sex might be okay, you know, but you're still thinking all these wonderful things. And you're in bed, you lay in the wet patch, your arms twisted, your hair's caught, his knees in your back, and he goes, are you comfortable? And we go, yes. And then years later, you go, I'm not actually. Can you move? Lie in your own wet patch. I'm not comfortable. In fact, actually, better still, get out. And that is where I think we've changed. And women are now, and you, Jacqueline, must know of all, because of what's going on with your purchases and your database, that women are definitely not putting up with that sort of sex anymore, are they? Women want it on their terms as much as somebody else is getting what they want from them.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, thank God, times have changed. You know, women don't lay back and think of England anymore, do they? You know, it's as much about what they want in the bedroom, and that is so important. But I think it's also interesting with the book is that certainly, you know, in the work that I do, in my experience, it's older women that are more confident and actually more adventurous and more experienced, and actually or looking for different experiences, should I say. But also when I look at my numbers, if you like, it's older women that are more likely to buy sex toys than it is younger women.
Because they're empowered and they've moved on from that period. I mean,
they are sexy.
Of course they are, and men go mental for them. It's like, I mean, like we are, I mean, let's not add up our ages, but we're not in our 20s, right? And we would not, if we were in a bar now, not that we're allowed in one, like we would not be short of attention, like, because they find us attractive because we're confident and we know what we want. And, you know, like Coleen has got a new boyfriend, which she's managed to achieve in lockdown, like with social distancing, and still it's happening.
You go, girl, go, girl.
Absolutely. I personally am trying to find any service that's still available. I had my carpet done, nothing happened there, but you know, I'm still got out. But the point is that we are proactive, and like, you know, we just, when you watch something now that's from the 70s, like say you watch an episode of Sweeney or Bergerac, you're just horrified, aren't you, at the way that the women are treated, and like the pats on the bums and the like, even Bond, which I love, like that it's just expected you'll just lie down. I mean, I told a story, quite a few stories actually, about in the PR for this, and I told a story of Beverley knows who this is, but again, like Beverley, I didn't reveal her, she won't reveal mine. I happened to hook up with a well-known TV stud, well known for being like a Lothario. It was an opportunity, we're at an award ceremony, and I thought, what the hell? So, you know, whatever. And he was terrible. And I said, right. And literally he said to me, you can't kick me out. I'm like, you know, he's like, can't we just cuddle? He literally said this, right? This is a TV hard man. Right, it's hard, that's another story. But I was like, if you're not going to give me an orgasm, I'm not listening to you snoring.
Good for you.
And I did. And I think that through my friends that I know and the women that I know, I'm not alone in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously, you know, you get to a certain age and you do become more confident and less bothered about what people think. However, I've got to say, I don't want to come across in this whole Zoom thing that we're doing that I'm an out and out feminist, and because I'm still really romantic. I still love being treated like a lady, and I still want all the romance. So
yes.
I wouldn't say that I'm an absolute ruthless, you do it my way or the highway. Do you know what I mean? I still like all the niceness of it.
I think you're pretty firm. It's like, so, you know, like I admire you a lot because like you, I mean, Coleen has given me some great advice over the years because I am a strong woman, like all of you. But one of my weaknesses is love. Not men I can handle, but when I fall in love with them, then it can be a problem. And Coleen's given me that brilliant advice years ago where you said love is the highest high and the lowest low, and I've repeated that so much, but I have got to a point now, and I think through writing Ruthless Women and the reaction to it, that I've decided that I'd rather have the heartbreak and the carpet burns. Otherwise forget it. It's like, so like if I can't have that moment, because I'm now in my mid-40s, like you know, you've all got children. I'm a single woman without them. A lot of the women in this book don't have children either as well. And there is a whole breed of women now, and Jacqueline, you'll know this from your database, that have gone a different way, that have never been married, don't have children, and now are out there basically not stalking men, but territorially choosing who they want to be with. And I think that this is the tip. Well, judging by the reactions that we've got from this, and the letters that I've got, this seems to be the tip of the iceberg of men no longer having that upper hand of being the initiator of sex. Do we agree that that's changed?
I do agree with that. But I must say as well, my husband John has read it.
Mega shag.
Mega shag. Yeah, I am lucky because, and I thank my lucky stars, he is a mega shag, but he also is very romantic. And Coleen, you know, he's funny. I could not ask for a more wonderful person. But when he read this, he said he loves these women.
Yeah.
He loves these women, and he really admires strong women, not necessarily women who dominate, but just women who know where they are and what they feel they need and what they want.
And I think, Jacqueline, again, for me, so I don't really buy a lot of stuff, but I love to go into the stores and try. I don't go into changing rooms. I actually just try it on over my clothes. I'm stood in the shop. I'm not even bothered. And I feel empowered when I've chosen what I've chosen, because I feel empowered knowing. So like my hairdresser's not now because obviously they're not around. And I said to them, so do you dress up for your man or do you dress up for you? And we all said that we dressed up for us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a myth.
Listen, John and I are Jacqueline's best customers. I am telling you, he buys me things and I buy him things, or we buy ourselves things, and we love it.
Well, I think it's a myth, you know, that women wear sexy underwear to turn on the man in their lives. I think it's so much about our own confidence and what makes us feel confident, what makes us feel sexy, and of course, you know, as you both said, that in itself turns a man on, that confidence.
Yeah, but also, but we're turning ourselves on, ready for the moment that we're going to enjoy. It's like, so, which is that, and people just don't talk about that. And I think, again, one of the reasons that people have reacted so strongly to that, because they say it's filthy. I don't think it's filthy. I think it's just feisty. It's like, this is just like it's what women I know do if they decide to turn it on for the evening. That's what they want. But if I was to dress up, you know, like I'm dressing up, one, to get myself in the mood, because as we all know, men are like microwaves, women are Argos. We've got to be warmed up. We've got to be, you know, it doesn't just happen, does it? It's like we've got to be in place for it. And so that will do it for me. And I think that the more we talk about that, the more women will feel empowered about it.
Yeah, I think
yes.
Also that women like to be stimulated mentally. They need that, you know, it's about imagination and fantasy, whereas men, it's much more visual.
Yes.
And we don't want a man who is a microwave and going to ping and serve.
No, absolutely not.
Not interested.
Not unless it's awful and you want it over quick.
Boil in the bag.
Yeah, let's do some more questions. Right, okay, what have we got next? So, right, this is for Coleen and Beverley. Having read Melanie Blake's Bonkbuster, it looks like I'm not going to be able to get rid of that tag, has it inspired you to write a book similarly of your own? Start with you, Coleen, because you've already written fiction. I
have written fiction. Obviously, mine... it was more about bitchiness, mine, within the industry, within the TV industry, not kind of soapland, and it wasn't full of sex, really. No, when I've read your book, I just want your imagination. I mean, I'm going to put it into play, probably, hopefully, after lockdown, who knows. I think it's a, you know, it's a hard thing to say to someone, oh, just go and write a book. You know, the ones I've written were quite hard to write. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to give it a go, but I might not tell you. Or I'll just send them to you, Mel, and you can tell me whether they're good or bad.
What about you, Beverley?
I couldn't possibly. Honestly, I couldn't possibly. I could talk about the things I know, but I certainly couldn't be a fiction writer. I don't have that talent. I'd rather someone else do the writing and I learn the words and then turn those words into a person.
Got it. Okay, and one for you, Jacqueline, here. It's Jacqueline, you've been so successful with Ann Summers. Do you think an erotic book could be your next venture? And what are your favourite sexy authors? Sorry, that was from Emma5561.
Well, there clearly is a huge demand. And what's interesting is I remember when the whole 50 Shades of Grey came out, you know, it went viral. It was amplified on social media. It outsold Harry Potter.
I know.
And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't going to win any literary awards, was it? I mean, and yet the sales, I mean, I don't know what they are now, but, you know, at one time they were talking like hundreds of thousands. So
Ginormous success.
Sorry?
Ginormous.
It's been totally phenomenal. And one of the things that we all saw was, you know, books were suddenly moved, erotic books were moved from the back of the bookshop to the front and in the windows. I mean, it certainly did, you know, it took the world, 50 Shades took the world by storm. And I think it was also partly to do with the whole, it tied in with the Kindle, you know, and audiobooks. So women could read a naughty book on the train or around the swimming pool on holiday, and nobody would know what she was reading. So but
I don't think they'll get away with this on the tube when the tube. I know what they're up to with this.
Are you doing that in audio?
Yes, Claire King from Emmerdale. Kim Tate did it with us.
Fantastic.
So yeah, so
There
they'll
they
be
can.
burning ears as people are listening. Let's go to another question. Okay, so this is from Lizzie Scarlett on Twitter. So this is for all of us, one by one. So it says, who is the most ruthless woman you have ever met? And I'll start with Beverley.
Oh gosh, that's such a hard one, isn't it? I've met quite a few. I think one of the best ruthless women I ever met, ruthless but fair, you put those together? Yeah. Was a producer called Coleen Reynolds. And she was a brilliant producer and fantastic at her job. But also she wouldn't let anything get in her way. She really fought for what she believed in. And she was wonderful to other women.
Which is what you want. Colleen?
I have to say that the most ruthless woman I've met, again, like Beverley said, ruthless but fair, strong, knows what she wants, goes out and gets what she wants and doesn't let anything stand in her way, is a woman called Melanie Blake.
I knew.
Who I admire greatly. And this book just goes to prove it. So,
well, I will take that compliment. I'm ruthless but compassionate.
Exactly, yes.
I care, but I care more about my team than I care about somebody else's team.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jacqueline?
Well, it's hard, isn't it? Because the word ruthless conjures up different things. You know, it's strong, but you don't want some, you know, but you want it to be a positive trait at the same time. But, you know, in all honesty, I think the most ruthless woman I've ever met is Karen Brady, who I know very well. And Karen, I think what makes her ruthless is that, you know, she's so focused on the end goal and what she wants to achieve. She won't let anything stand in her way. She's obviously had to build her career in a very, very male environment. You can imagine the type of and you can imagine the type of comments she would have got when she started. And I know, you know, she was very young. You know, she is hugely successful, as we all know.
And yet she doesn't show that side very, as you've described it. I've met her a couple of times and you don't get that sense. It's interesting, that word ruthless and what it means. So they also are asking me that question. And mine's a funny one because it's not a bad thing either. But obviously I am also an agent as well as an author. And the most ruthless woman that I ever came across, I am a good negotiator. I have never lost a battle apart from Michelle Mone from Ultimo. You could not get that woman to budge on a penny. Like literally, we used to do the deals for like the face of Ultimo, and she had the best it's not a poker face. You'd be like, so obviously she's got a primetime show and she's on the sides of buses, and she's like, it's great, but that's the offer. You'd be like, and they've just offered her something else, and now she's going to be like 50 million people are going to know she's from. That's brilliant for her, but there's no more money. And like literally, I never met anybody that I couldn't get another dime out of other than her. I mean, she was so ruthless with her negotiation that I had to take my hat off to her and go, I mean, it doesn't matter what you threw in her face. She could have gone, she's marrying Prince Harry. She'd be like, that's great, but there's no more money. Like, it's unbelievable. So Michelle Mone for me was that woman. And I really liked her. But there just was like, she was steel. There was no penetrating. This was the price. This was the offer. And it didn't matter what you did. That was it. Take it or leave it. So for me, that's ruthless. What else do we have in here? One from, this is Baby Gruff on Twitter. Beverley, we will miss you on the cobbles. Is it really true that there will never be a comeback for Liz?
Yes, that is true. I mean, thank you so much for saying you will miss me. I loved my time there, 31 years. And I've left a couple of times before just to go on stage or to do other things, because we were never allowed to do both. But I always said, I would, when they said, are you coming back? I always said, I would never say never. But this time it is never. No, I won't go back again.
And what has made you do that decision?
I just feel, lockdown sort of helped me make the massive decision, because it is a life-changing one. I've really begun to enjoy my life, and I don't want to be working 12 hours a day, 48 weeks a year. And I want more time to be me.
And what has made you come to that decision?
I think more than anything, the lockdown, certainly the first one, was really good for me. The weather was good. I had lots of time to contemplate. And I just decided that this time I would say never. And I need more time to be me and to do other things.
And does it feel empowering?
Yeah, it feels really empowering, because we all spend our lives more often than not doing as we're told at work. And I don't want to do that anymore.
No, and that's a great message to end that question on, because obviously, again, it's in the theme of the book, of which is taking control of your life. So we have a question here. Oh, this one's for me, which is Tracy Barry 320 on Twitter has asked that, we've heard that you started your career off as an extra, Melanie. Was it glamorous? No, it was not glamorous, as Beverley will testify. So Beverley and I actually met about 24 or 25 years ago in the Rover's Return. So of our audience, anybody that's seen All About Eve will know the storyline, which is there's the person that's at the bottom of the ladder, there's the person at the top of the ladder, and sometimes those people don't connect and sometimes they do. And whilst it wasn't glamorous, it was an incredibly wonderful time for me to meet women like Beverley. I met Claire King, I met Gillian Telforth, and I really worked my way up, didn't I, Beverley? I think.
And you worked so hard. But we clicked.
Instantly. We clicked
the moment we met.
Yeah.
And I love it when women do that as well. Annie Kirkbride and I clicked when we first met. Coleen and I did.
Yeah.
I love that.
I used to see Annie in the smoking shelter outside at Coronation Street, that little one that they built for her. And it's quite funny. So I don't know whether you know much about soap extras, Jacquline, but so as a soap extra, you are the lowest of the low, not in terms that they consider you to be a bad person, but just that it doesn't get any lower. Like, that's the lowest order. Stand over there, stand in the background, say rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb quietly, and basically everyone gets to do their business. And extras don't speak to stars, but I did. So I would go up to like Beverley or Claire King in the Wolfpack or Gillian, and I would say, you know, that article that was in such and such thing the other day, I thought you could have had the front page, and like, there was just this thing, wasn't there? Like, there was a real sense that women that were over 40, I was in my 20s then, were not getting that attention from the press offices. And Coleen and I, we have a very similar story, don't we? Which we can talk about in a second. That I've always been a big supporter of. I am now an older woman, obviously, but back then. So my dad was very much a sexist pig, let's be frank. And he basically said to me when I was 12 that all women over the age of 30 were finished. I remember that distinctly. It was such a weird thing to say. I was looking at, do you remember the old News of the World supplement, the really glossy one? You have like Liz Taylor, Raquel Welch, all the gorgeous women. There was an issue, and it was like, must have been maybe 1990. And it said something like, why Hollywood 40 is the new something. And he basically picked it up and went, all these women are finished. They're all past it. That's what you'll learn. And my mum wasn't happy. And it lit a fire in me right then that I thought, that is so wrong, that men can judge women on their ages. That as my career progressed and I began to work with Beverley, I went into work with Claire King, Gillian Telforth, Gaynor Faye, and lots of soap stars. You can Google me. And I came to work with Coleen. And you had never had a front cover, had you, Coleen?
No, I'd never had a front cover. And in she walked, and it was like, I'm going to get you on a front cover. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And of course, I'd had people in the past who'd said they were going to do things and they never did. You know, you'd sign up with them all excited and nothing ever happened. And so I ignored her actually for about 3 months. Didn't return her calls. Just thought she was full of crap. I just thought, nah, she's another one. And eventually, after about 3 months, she said, "Are you ever going to get in touch with me again?" And she got me my first ever front cover.
Yeah, and I knew at that time that there was a great appetite. Colleen's not got a big ego, but I can speak on her behalf that Coleen was very popular. And I went into the networks where she worked, and they said, it's not her, it's the programme. No one's interested in her. So that same thing that I'd experienced with Beverley at Coronation Street, is the same experience I'd had with Claire King, who played Kim Tate in Emmerdale. That date mark that some executive had stamped on their backs going, they're over 40, they're just lucky to have a job. I think we run through that theme in here, that we can't spoil it, but the women don't lose, do they? I think that's fair to say.
Women shouldn't lose, should they?
No.
They shouldn't lose.
No, and it takes combined women to come together to tackle those sort of men in this from every angle of it. And I think when we all got together, and obviously now, Jacquline, we're connected as well. I'm thrilled because I'm such a huge fan, is that it's so great that there is such strength in numbers, that the more of us that there are together speaking up and having that presence and that voice in the room, like you said earlier, Jacquline, the more women that will follow us.
Definitely. You know, we should all be boldly celebrating our success. I mean, I've got an 11-year-old daughter. I want her to be inspired what I've achieved, and you can't do that unless you are prepared to put your head above the parapet. And sometimes women, don't feel comfortable doing that. But I must just say something, because I feel I've got to own up here. I'm 60 and my husband is 42. We've been we've been together for 20 years. So he's 17 years younger than me. So it sounds really strange, listening to these outdated views of men that turn around and say, oh, they're finished, and, all of that rubbish, because aren't relationships about, it's more than what a person looks like. It's about sharing the same values. And
definitely.
These are men that are in entertainment, so they relate to the book. So your story in real life is a story we all want. And Beverley's got an amazing husband, John, and Colleen's had many happy relationships, and I'm still looking. I'm
sound like a right old slapper.
We've been married twice. Beverley's been married 4 times, but we won't bring that up.
Yes, I've kissed many frogs.
And I was dumped at the altar, so we'll leave that there. But no, the point is, in this, so we're only talking about the scallywags of Ruthless Women here, Jacquline. We're not casting aspersions on your gorgeous man there or any other.
And Jacquline, can I just say something to Jacquline? Firstly, I'm absolutely, I nearly fell off my bed then when you said you're what, 60?
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Because you look about 30 at the most.
Yeah, you're
And also,
gorgeous.
you've given me hope, because this new guy I'm meeting, my whole issue with him has been that I'm older.
Yeah.
And it's not an issue for him at all, but it's been a thing for me. Like, I've really, really had to get my head around it. And he's 8 years younger than me. And when I hear women like you, I think, oh, it can work. I always think, oh, am I too old for him?
John is 8 years younger than me.
Mm. Oh, is he?
Yeah, I mean, I know he looks the same. It's going to kill me, isn't it? But I was married to someone who was 8 years older than me, and I was bored out of my brains.
Yeah.
So I've decided that I'm going to get a younger man. So, because the last few, they're probably going to be watching this, so well, what the hell. The last few men that I've been with have been my age or slightly older. And I find, and this is a really sticky wicket to talk about, but it's the only way to do it, is that, like, we are independent, successful women. We own our own things. We have our own stuff. I personally have found that younger men find that quite attractive, because they still feel that they have the time to achieve it all themselves. Whereas sometimes if you're with a man that is the same age as you, or maybe older, and you own the house and you own the business and all the rest of it, there can be a bit of a discord between the way they feel about it. What do you think about that, Coleen?
As in their own kind of pride and...
Yes.
You mean if they're... Yeah. I think that was a big problem with my second marriage. I think he found it very, very, very difficult that I was the main breadwinner and he was the stay-at-home parent. I mean, he was a musician, so he went out to gigs and stuff, but the majority of the time he was stay-at-home parent with our daughter, and when the boys were younger. And I do think he found that really hard at the time.
And I do think that is age related, because the younger guys that I have dated, I haven't found a younger guy that I wanted to stay with now, but I have now, so I'm 44, and I've now decided that I think probably like 28 is probably going to be like good for me. I'm thinking that feels like a good mix.
Wow.
I know, I see your face there. That's
28, that's younger than my sons.
I know you were going to say that. But the thing is,
I'm keeping my sons locked up from you, Melanie Blake.
I've known them too long. They're perfectly safe. But I feel like, you know, I don't know whether I want that romance thing now. I feel like maybe I just want the experience and I want the fun, and I don't want to go backpacking with a bag. But like, I want to go on nice holidays with age is not a number. I wouldn't go, oh, I like him because he's young. But like, in the book, like, Helen only likes younger men until, can't do the spoiler, until she doesn't. And like, you know, I would never say never, but I'm starting to think that like, I am, obviously since I started doing promo and started stepping in front of the cameras myself and doing that kind of stuff, obviously I get those sort of approaches that I didn't used to get. I've seen your girls' inboxes, I can imagine what's in them, but it's new to me. And I noticed that it is the younger men that do approach you and sort of go, I find you very attractive, I find it very empowering. The fact that you know what you're doing, the fact that you want your own space, that you're doing your own thing. And I think, do we think that, well, Jacquline, you're definitely going to be a yes on this. And do we think that younger men and older women is the way forward?
Well, you know, I've had different experiences, because I remember being out at a party and you know, there was this was obviously before my husband, and this guy was chatting to me and I thought he was quite nice. And then when he asked me what I did, I mean, you know, do you play it down? I try different things, but when I thought, oh, I'll just tell him the truth because I quite like him, he said, well, how do you expect me to follow that? And then sort of, you know, that obviously killed it. Whereas I think you just have to think, well, do you know what? That's not the right person for me. Mm-hmm. And I think I go back to, I never went out looking for a man that was 17 years younger than me, but we suddenly found, you know, we had loads in common. And so, yeah, I think I don't think you can pigeonhole this one.
No, I agree with you. I think really there are no rules, but and I think we should banish rules. You've got to go with your heart and with your head to a certain extent. But I think also, on the whole, I think younger men tend not to be as jealous of what we've achieved, whereas men our age, and certainly men older, seem to see it as a competition. And
I think that's
awful.
because I think the older guy has grown up in that era. If they're older than me, for instance, in their 60s or whatever, I think it's because they've grown up still in that era of women stay at home and men go to work and men are the bread. I think younger guys now are with the modern world. They know that women are independent. You know, they know that women can be successful and be the money earner. And I think they're cool with that.
Well, that gives me hope. Okay, right. So I'm going to do some quick fire questions now because there are so many that we've had from people that have bought tickets to be here. Hi, everyone at home. One for Beverley. Martina from Hull. Beverley, why do you think soap seems obsessed with killing characters off? And do you think that Liz will die now you're not going back?
Oh, it's a great question. I think Liz may well die. They did say when I handed my notice in, we're not going to kill Liz. We do want you to come back. But now I've made that decision that I don't want to go back. They may kill her off screen. I don't know. I think that one of the problems and one of the things that maybe made me consider leaving was that they love the car crashes, the train crashes, the murders, but they don't tend to do the kitchen sink dramas. Yeah. And I think we all love the interaction between characters, and that doesn't happen as much now. So they might kill Liz, they might not.
But you're happy to live with it, whatever happens.
Absolutely, yeah.
Beverley lives on. Okay, so Coleen, Jane in Bradford would like to know, you acted in the Thunder Girls. I came to see the show. You were brilliant. Do you think you would ever join a soap opera?
Well, Jane, I mean, I never thought I would be actually doing acting live on stage, and it happened, and I really enjoyed it, and I was surrounded by amazing women. Beverley, obviously, being the main one, who was brilliant with me from my first time. So never say never, but I have to say, having read Ruthless Women, unless it's anything like that, then I'm not doing it. Unless I have got love scenes like that are in that book, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh, it will be. It will be. Another one for Coleen. Okay, this is from Lewis on Twitter. Coleen, what is the biggest showbiz bust-up you've seen behind the scenes on any show of someone that looks like butter wouldn't melt?
Oh, wow, that's a hard question. I actually don't know. I haven't really. I mean, I've met, I cannot say names because I would be taken to court, but I've met lots of celebrities who, not lots actually, that's unfair. There's the vast majority are fabulous, but there's the odd one who, yes, on screen comes across as lovely and, you know, girl or boy next door and all that, but actually behind the scenes aren't very nice or quite divish, and I find it very, very difficult to hide my disappointment. But that's the only thing. I've not really seen bust ups, just divas, male and female, behind the scenes.
Okay, this one is for Beverley, and this is from Barbara in Huddersfield on Twitter. Beverley, there's lots of sex in Ruthless Women. I have had an early preview of it. It is quite shocking. Is the world of soaps really sex, drugs and rock and roll, or is Melanie swinging the lead?
I have to say it's a bit of both, really. I think Melanie has condensed the exciting bits and put them all together, because there are many exciting bits, and I could tell you stories that would make your hair curl, literally. But there is a very boring side to it as well. But no, there are some pretty raunchy stories, and Melanie knows most of them, and I think that's why they're in this book in the first place.
They're in there. I've either seen them, heard about them, or possibly done them. Okay, next one. This one's for Jacquline. This is from Audrey from Carlisle. Jacquline, do you think women over 40 have got the same sort of high sex drives that Melanie writes about in her book?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this earlier. I think that we have all 3 generations going to an Ann Summers party, for example. I just see that. In fact, even earlier today, I went on a call to congratulate somebody that had been an ambassador with Ann Summers now for 34 years. I mean, that's incredible. So, you can sort of guess what sort of age she might be. So I just think women do get more confident. They become more accepting of their bodies as they get older. I know from my own database that and the research that we've done, that older women are much more inclined to experiment with sex toys and be more adventurous than perhaps younger women would be. So
that leads me perfectly on to Lisa from Swindon, who asked Jacquline, what did you think when you heard that the Morgasm had made its way into the pages of Ruthless Women, and why do you think it's so iconic?
Well, I think it was absolutely brilliant to hear that news. I think every woman should have, every woman needs a rabbit in their life, don't they? Not the furry kind. I think it's great. What was the last part of the question?
Why do you think it's so iconic?
Well, I think it's probably because of Samantha in Sex in the City, who I also believe you sort of liken yourself to.
I don't. People liken me to
other people do. So, that was fantastic. I mean, it went on Sex in the City, and then all of a sudden, within a week, we'd completely sold out. It was, and then, of course, we developed the rabbit family. So,
leading to the Morgasm. So another one for you, Jacquline. Bridget on Twitter asks Jacquline, what do you think the success of Ann Summers is down to as you're approaching your 50th milestone? How do you stay on top of the competition?
Yeah, I think, we are, I like to think that, we've changed culture, we've changed attitudes, we pushed back, we did something completely different. Right at the beginning when I was doing it, when I started the parties, it was very frowned upon, it was very controversial, but I carried on doing what I was passionate about and stood for what I believed in, and I don't think there is anything like Ann Summers. So I feel, and when you look at successful companies, they stand out from the crowd, and that's what I believe we do.
Well, if I was to take you upstairs now with these lights, I could take you through a tour of quite a lot of your collection. I have a lot of your and I love Ann Summers. This is Sharon from Leeds, and she says, Melanie, you are now in the tabloids yourself along your clients. How does it feel after all the years behind the scenes? I have to tell you, it is very, very weird. I love being behind the scenes. I love helping the girls get ready, choosing their outfits, choosing the themes of the shoots, orchestrating it all, making them look amazing. And often in the old days, a client would say to me, oh, that picture's been airbrushed. And I'd be like, yeah, but it's what people want and stuff. Then they would say, oh, I don't feel like myself. And I'm like, but it's showbiz. So obviously now I see myself airbrushed to death on something. I'm like, you need a DNA test to recognize that's me. And it's trying to have like same mentality to go, it's okay, because that part of you feels a bit like a fraud doing it. Do you agree with that, Coleen?
Yeah, definitely. You're not though. We're not frauds.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, because we've been lit well and we've been, like we don't look like that.
No, but equally, when people are going, oh, we should ban all the airbrushing and we should ban this and just look up. I don't want to.
No, you just say it's been airbrushed. Like, you know, it's a good
I'd rather just go, yes, I've been airbrushed to hell, but I would put that photo in a frame.
I'm with that all the time. But yeah, the pressure does come that if I think now that I am out there, like, and I'm on a couple of magazine covers this, that which never happened to me before, like, you know, I know that I'm going to be trolled, and like having to practice what I preach at telling you all what it's, oh, don't listen, just suddenly hearing what they're saying about me.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's a bit, I think it's a big lesson. I think it's made me a better agent.
Do you find, Melanie, as well, that women we're our own worst enemies, really? Because I find a lot of the trolling about your looks or your weight or whatever is normally other women.
I find the ones that particularly pick you out for the way you look do tend to be women, which is sort of interesting, because you kind of wonder where that's coming from. And like, you know, like, we're being honest about going, yes, we've had lovely clothes, we've had lovely style, you know, we're at home, we look pretty normal and we're doing normal things, but like, I don't look at a magazine cover and go, God, I hate her because she looks so good. I bet she doesn't look like that today. So it's definitely a lot of pressure, and it's something that I didn't expect, and I don't enjoy it. I've enjoyed today because I'm amongst friends, and I love it, and this has been really good, and I love all the women that are here today, and I love you guys watching at home. But I don't know, I'm still finding my feet. I think it's a new experience for me. Another one for me, Steve Willis 101 on Twitter. Melanie, you've had such an incredible career. You are a true inspiration for women. Thank you, Steve. Will you write a memoir? Oh, no, I won't write a memoir.
Oh, please, Melanie.
They couldn't print my memoir. So I think that we shall say no to that. And also, I'm only just warming up. Steve, ask me again in a few years. Right, another one for me. Karen from Kings Lynn has asked on Facebook, Melanie, you say you've drawn from your experiences as a soap agent, but have the characters been exaggerated for creative effect? Absolutely not. I have met these stone cold bitches for myself who are ruthless, will stab you in the back and the front, steal your boyfriend, and walk over you to get whatever they want. If you read this book and you go, women like that don't exist, trust me, they do. Christine from Exeter, Beverley, you've recently said you're going to have a facelift in the papers. Do you think that there's a lot of pressure on women in the industry to have cosmetic surgery, and where do you think this pressure comes from?
Oh, there is so much pressure. And I thought, because I've been thinking about it for quite a long time, and I've made the decision. So maybe next time you see me, I'll be talking like that. No, I made the decision because there is so much pressure in the business. And even the doctor, when I talked to him, said, oh, you look great for your age. And he wasn't just flattering me. He said, you know, you look amazing. But because of the industry you're in, I understand why you want it done. And I don't want my age to shorten my working life. And so that's why I've made the decision. And also, I won't lie about it. I'm not going to say, oh, thanks, I look great. It's just great moisturizer I'm using. You know, loads of us have to do this, and I know loads of people who have done it. And so I'm going to do it as well.
Good for you, and good for you for being honest. Sharon from Stockport would like to know, did the sex in Ruthless Women get you going?
Did it get me going? I'd have to be made of stone had it not have got me going. Do you know what it did? It made me realise that I'm actually still alive from the waist down, because for many years I thought I was quite dead. And Ruthless Women has just brought me back to life and made me very excited about lockdown ending and getting back out there.
That really thrills me to hear that, because obviously when I wrote those sex scenes, some of them were wrote from memory, some of them were wrote from experience, some of them were wrote from fantasy, but also they're all realistic. And yeah, I read a few back and I was like, oh. This would be quite nice, quite fancy doing that. This is Janine from Glasgow. Melanie, why do you see so many soap stars' personal lives become an absolute car crash? Do they confuse the character with themselves? I'm going to say absolutely not to this. What happens here? Generally men. I call them the celebrity sniffer. And that is a man that sniffs around a successful woman, gets in with her. As an agent, you know that they're bad. You can tell that they're bad, but they just won't listen. And the first sign is they want to be their agent. The second sign is they want to be their publicist. Then they're living in their house. Then they're living off them. Then they've got businesses with them. Then they're using all of their money. And then before they know it, that celebrity's broke. And generally they move on to the next person. It's heartbreaking. I've had to walk away from many celebrities that I've represented because I just couldn't look past the fact that I knew where that was going to end. They're not all like that. Some people it's turned out, but in my experience, that's why car crashes happen. It tends to be a man that has come into the situation. Melanie, who is the biggest nightmare soap star you've worked with and why? Well, for legal reasons, I can't name her, but this is an actress turned TV presenter turned odd job turned desperado turned Instagram beggar turned attention seeking. So
wait, just to clear this up, it's not me.
It's not her. This woman is so morally corrupt and desperate for attention that she has single-handedly managed to alienate every work site that she's ever been on by divide, conquer and rule. And if you saw her on television, of which she regularly appears, you would believe that butter wouldn't melt. My advice to you is anybody that holds up the biggest be kind sign and is always preaching love and warmth and friendship is generally a stone cold bitch. Okay.
Wow.
True. Okay, another one for me. Karen from King's Lynn has asked on Facebook, Melanie, you say you've drawn from your experiences as a soap agent, but have the characters been exaggerated for creative effect? Absolutely not. I have met these stone cold bitches for myself who are ruthless, will stab you in the back and the front, steal your boyfriend, and walk over you to get whatever they want. If you read this book and you go, women like that don't exist, trust me, they do. Do you think that Ruthless Women is going to lead a stampede into the stores once they're open for women that are deciding to get their real groove back after lockdown?
Well, I mean, I think this book is going to be hugely successful. I think it's got all the ingredients, you know, and it's escapism. I think, you know, in this whole lockdown, it's been tough for everybody. And it was interesting to hear Beverley talk about, you know, you reevaluate things, but we need that escapism. I mean, if you think about some of the things we've been watching on TV,
yeah,
I think it's going to be a huge success.
Kaylee from Belfast asks, Melanie, a few of your characters have drug problems. Is it rife and were any of the storylines based on any clients in particular? I understand you represented Daniela Westbrook and brought her back to EastEnders a decade after she was fired for her drug expose. I'm not quite sure if that's technically true about the drug expose situation, because I only looked after Daniela for 1 year, and that was in 2009 when she was clean, sober, and she was an absolute delight to work with. I've got a lot of love for Daniela, thought she was fabulous in EastEnders, but yes, drink, drugs and addictions are absolutely rife in the world of soap. Somebody once called it paradise syndrome. Get everything that you want, and if it doesn't make you happy, you start looking for other things. Some people comfort eat, some people drink, some people take drugs, some people have casual sex. Soap life is not normal, it's anything but. So you have to find something that is going to either give you fulfillment, which is hopefully a nice relationship and a family, or if not, you tend to go off the rails. But I would never have anything bad to say about Daniela Westbrook. I had a wonderful year with her, and I was very sad to see it go wrong for her the way that it did. Last one for me, Jenny from Bristol has asked, is Ruthless Women only the tip, pardon the pun, she says, of the iceberg? of the Bonkbusters? Will this be a whole new generation of them, and will there be a sequel? Well, yes, I answered earlier, there will be a sequel, Ruthless Men. And I really believe that, judging by the reaction to this book and the overwhelming response and the fact that people have gone crazy for it, that I think this will be the return of, I would call it a blockbuster that happens to have a lot of bonking in it. Is it slightly different? It's not quite exactly the same. It's just a great story where women have, it's a gripping tale of jealousy, betrayal, revenge that just happens to have a lot of women getting their legs over. And I think that makes a big change from men getting their legs over on women. So I'm all for it. And if you would like to read the ultimate high-heeled leg over, then you should get Ruthless Women. But if you're here, you probably already have. Right, guys, everybody at home, I just want to say I'm so sorry that is all we've got time to do today. There were so many questions. If we did get a chance to answer them all, do feel free to hunt us out on Twitter, social media. I'm pretty much online all the time, and I will answer everything that I possibly can. I want to thank you again for buying Ruthless Women. I can't wait to see what you think of it, and let us know. And I would like to thank all of the ladies for joining me here today. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody's left now, and I've stayed behind just for a few minutes just to say I really, really, really appreciate everybody that's joined this, everybody that's bought the book, all the fantastic reviews. I mean, it's been compared to Bridgerton, saying that it makes it look tame. It's been compared to some of the iconic greats of the past. The reviews are fantastic, but most importantly, what means everything to me is what you think, because at the end of the day, without you guys buying the books, supporting me and giving me an opportunity to write these stories, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I am eternally grateful that you have taken me to your heart the way that you have, and I am absolutely confident that I have delivered in Ruthless Women a book that you will never ever forget, and I couldn't have done it without you. And guys, I'm so sorry that I didn't get a chance to answer and ask all the questions that you sent. There were hundreds and hundreds of them, and we just didn't get the time. But I am going to be on social media, so come and find me, Twitter, Insta, Melanie Blake UK, and I will answer everything that I possibly can that we missed out, and also forward on anything for the girls that we didn't get a chance to ask. But I hope you enjoyed it. We absolutely loved our girls' night in, and hopefully when this is all over, the next book's out, we can have a book launch and you're all invited.